Hello, everyone. I'm Asmarit Asafal-Berhe, the Director of the Office of Science at the U.S. Department of Energy. On behalf of the Office of Science and DOE, it is truly a pleasure to welcome everyone to today's exciting announcement. We're here today to celebrate the first round of selections for our innovative Milestone-Based Fusion Development Program. To kick off our program, I'm excited to welcome our Undersecretary for Science and Innovation, Dr. Jerry Richmond. Undersecretary.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Berhe. Hello, everyone. Sorry for a bit of a delay, but it's so great to finally be here. And in a few minutes, you'll hear about the Fusion Milestone Program selectees. This program was exciting for a few reasons. It will solidify U.S. leadership in fusion, commercialization, and potentially allow fusion to contribute to the U.S. goals that we all have for net zero carbon economy by 2050. It's also a very novel type of program for DOE. This public-private partnership where the federal government provides fixed payments in private companies for reaching mutually negotiated technical, business, commercialization, and community benefits milestones. And it's particularly inspired by the NASA Commercial Orbit Transportation Services program that helped enable the commercial space launch industry. And I want to point out that DOE investments had a long-standing role in getting us to this point. The Office of Science has invested in fusion and energy sciences R&D for decades. And NNSA invested in inertial fusion in support of its important emission needs, which of course is the National Ignition Facility breakthrough this last winter that it led to. And ARPA-E has provided support in more recent years with a focus on innovation paths to commercialization of fusion energy. The milestone selectees leverage the full range of investments that all three offices have made. And so today, one of these days where decades of hard work starts to pay off. And I'm excited to celebrate this with all of you. So back to you, Dr. Berhe. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Richmond. As you said, it's truly an exciting moment where we're seeing so many years and so much hard work reach the point where industry is now working aggressively to deliver innovation to the marketplace. Next up, I'm honored to be able to present two more incredible women and incredible leaders for our U.S. innovation ecosystem. It's truly wonderful to be surrounded all around by strong women leaders. And to start with, to introduce our two upcoming speakers that will have a fireside chat conversation will be Secretary of Energy, Secretary Jennifer Granholm, the leader of our solutions department here at the Department of Energy, and a tireless leader of the Biden administration's efforts to drive towards a just and clean energy transition. And Director Arati Prabhakar, Director of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy and Assistant to the President for Science and Technology, an innovator in her own right and someone who knows the incredible outcomes we can achieve when we pursue high-risk, high-reward science and technology as a former director of DARPA. I'm excited to just sit back now and enjoy the fireside chat between these two incredible people. Madam Secretary, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Berhe, Dr. Richmond, the whole team for organizing today's program. Dr. Prabhakar, Arthi, thank you so much for helping to kick us off. Let me just say a few words and then you and I can go at it. The Biden administration obviously sees enormous potential in fusion, harnessing the power of the sun and the stars right here on Earth to deliver affordable, abundant, reliable, clean energy. And at the Department of Energy, we've had fusion in our sites actually for decades. As Dr. Richmond mentioned, DOE's national labs and university partners have been conducting fusion research really for more than 60 years. And their work culminated, many of you know this, in an enormous breakthrough last December when the researchers at DOE's Lawrence Livermore Lab achieved fusion ignition, which is creating, of course, more energy from fusion reactions than the energy that was used to start the process for the very first time in history. And so now that we've mastered the science, we're moving full speed ahead to make sure that commercially viable fusion is there. And so a year ago, the Biden administration hosted the very first White House Fusion Summit, where we announced the Bold Decadal Vision to accelerate progress toward commercial fusion. And our Office of Science at that point announced $45 million to support the creation of inertial fusion energy innovation hubs. And so we've launched now this milestone-based fusion development program where private companies are going to team up with our labs and with universities and others to work through the scientific and technological challenges with the goal of designing a fusion pilot plant within the next 5 to 10 years. To paraphrase Scott Shue, who's DOE's lead fusion coordinator, commercializing fusion is now just a matter of will, not whether, but will. So today, there's nearly $5 billion of private capital invested in predominantly US-based fusion companies. There's no longer a question of possibility, as I say. It is a question of ingenuity and whether we can muster up the investment and the commitment that this challenge demands. So Arthi, let me ask you, when you often talk about the importance of what does it take mindset for tackling really tough societal and technical challenges. In your mind, what's it going to take to make commercial fusion a reality and to make real world impact?
Well, it's really exciting that we are at that moment where we can now ask that question about commercial fusion. And I just want to start, first of all, Secretary Granholm, by thanking you for your leadership and everything that you and your department are doing to help us actually achieve our climate goals. We're making real progress with the Inflation Reduction Act and other work that's going on. And this fusion effort is a part of the rest of the story, not just how do we get to our 2030 goals, but how do we get to our 2050 goals of eliminating greenhouse gas emissions. And I love a big, aggressive, barely feasible goal because it forces you then to figure out what does it actually take to get there. And I've really been excited watching DOE ask that question about fusion. Because of course, having the scientific basis that tells us that we can do this is necessary, but it's very, very far from sufficient. And there's so, as this team that's here on this call knows better than anyone, there's so much more work that has to be done to turn this into something that is a commercial capability that's consistent and safe and reliable, that deals with all the thermal issues, deals with all the materials issues, deals with all of the radiation issues that will still be there even with this much more advanced technology. And, just because there's not science left to do doesn't mean that it automatically happens. And so it's really counting on the work that you all are doing. And importantly, and the way you're approaching it, this is the kind of an undertaking that it's not just going to get done by the government. It's not just going to get done by industry. It's not just going to get done by researchers and academia. And so I think the partnerships that you're putting together are so important. And that's what I think you're here to announce today. So I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Yes, we do have an announcement. Today, DOE is awarding $46 million through the Milestone-Based program to 8 private fusion companies. And here they are: Commonwealth Fusion Systems, Focused Energy, Princeton Stellarators, Rialta Fusion, Tokamak Energy, Type 1 Energy, Exemer Energy, and Zap Energy. These companies, congratulations to you all. They're all across the country, from California to Wisconsin to West Virginia. They're going to help us take our scientific breakthrough to date and to really aggressively, as you're describing, Dr. Prabhakar, push these forward in a way that the federal government cannot do alone. And critically, these companies represent a wide range of technical and commercial pathways. Some are working on more technically mature approaches like tokamaks and stellarators and laser inertial fusion, and others are working on innovative concepts with lower technical maturity like mirror and Z-pinch, which could lead to more compact and lower cost systems. And by funding such a diverse portfolio, our ultimate goal is for the strongest solutions to rise to the top and to help us chart a clear path forward to bring clean fusion energy to American homes and business. So, Dr. Prabhakar, as these selectees are working to make the impact that we just talked about, I wonder if you have any advice that you would give to them. What would you want them to keep in mind?
Well, first of all, I'll add my congratulations. That's quite a lineup that you all have, and it's very exciting to hear the names of those companies and all the different approaches. My advice would be really simple. Number one, we are counting on these companies and these partnerships. No pressure, but my advice would be work like there's no plan B, because we need this to work. So glad to see you, everyone, going after it.
Amen. Thank you so much, Arathi. Thank you so much. And thanks for this, to this whole group, such exciting work ahead. I know we have a great panel today to talk more about the ambitions for the Milestone program. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Berhe.
Thank you very much, Secretary Granholm, Dr. Prabhakar. Really, it was wonderful to hear both your excitement about this very, very important event. That was just wonderful. In addition to thanking the Secretary Granholm and Director Prabhakar for sharing their perspectives on this exciting moment, I want to add a few words about the announcement. Before I do, though, allow me to say thank you for everyone for your patience as we work to address the technical challenge with the live stream. It's now my pleasure to say a few words about the announcement that we're all here to celebrate. Congress authorized the Milestone-Based Fusion Development Program in the Energy Act of 2020 and reiterated through their support through our appropriations for the fiscal year 2022 and 2023. We are excited in the Office of Science to move forward as they envisioned in those important pieces of legislation. As you heard from the Secretary, we're excited to support a diverse portfolio of approaches to realizing fusion energy. Among our 8 awardees, we have 2 companies pursuing a tokamak approach, 2 pursuing a stellarator, 2 pursuing inertial fusion, and 2 additional approaches with the potential to add new tools to our toolbox of potential fusion energy technologies. This group represents the diversity of potential pathways that researchers and technology leaders see to realizing clean fusion energy. Through the Milestone program, these companies will work with researchers at our national labs and universities to advance their designs for fusion pilot plants and receive payments from DOE along the way for reaching key milestones. This is a different approach from what we typically do in the Office of Science, but one that has proven successful in other areas, like commercial spaceflight. This is why I'm glad to be hosting this panel to really dig in on what approach like this would look like and the potential it has to spur progress in this very exciting sector. Joining me now are folks from 2 of our selected companies, their research partners, and the finance sector. Today we have with us Bob Mumgard, who's the CEO of Commonwealth Fusion Systems, Susana Reyes, Vice President for Chamber and Plant Design with Exemer Energy, Kathy McCarthy, Director of the U.S. ITER Project Office at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, Carlos Paz Saldan, Associate Professor of Applied Physics and Applied Mathematics at Columbia University, Phil LaRochelle, Partner at Breakthrough Energy Ventures, and Jean Ibanez Payne, who is the CEO of TI Verbatim Consulting. Without further ado, we would love now to hear from the experts. So from each panelist's perspective, I would love to hear why you view the Milestone program as an exciting approach for innovation. To answer that question, let me start by kicking it off to our first speaker, Bob.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who's been involved in this program to date. I think we can trace the idea for this program all the way back to the National Academies and the Fusion Advisory Committee, and the cross-sectional breadth of the fusion program that's weighed in on this idea is quite wide. and then to see the Congress and the administration take this and actually turn it into a funded program has been just so exciting to watch that. And particularly exciting about it is it's really about innovating the way we innovate. And so when we think about what's been done in the past in Fusion, we think, about grants, and we think about private companies and sort of being separate. And this actually pulls all the parts of the Fusion ecosystem in the United States together and leverages what each group does best. So it leverages the deep science of the national academies and capabilities and test stands. It leverages the education and the innovation in the universities, the communities, and how they want this technology to advance. Then also the companies and how to get to a product as quickly as possible and execute, and finance to make sure that product is something that can be picked up and scaled in the long term. So I think this innovative approach to pulling it all together is the piece to me that is very, very exciting.
Indeed, very exciting. Thank you, Bob. Susanna.
Yeah, I fully agree with what Bob just said. I just want to add that for us, for Excimer, this program also will help catalyze the private investments in Fusion that we have been seeing over the last few years. We believe that this program will help show that the private investors don't have to hold all of the risk by themselves. So we expect to see an acceleration of the timeline in this way. And also just to mention that we think that IFE is incredibly well suited for this approach because of what Dr. Richmond and Dr. Berhe already said. We have decades of hard work at DOE and NNSA labs that culminated in the National Ignition Facility breakthrough. And we plan to use this program to partner with these labs and a broader team of universities and private companies that help us use that achievement and develop novel architectures for laser and robust target design and a very well integrated chamber that provides us with a very attractive concept. So really thrilled to be part of this program.
Wonderful to hear that. Thank you, Susanna. Kathy.
And I can just add that the national laboratories are absolutely excited to see industry having such an interest in fusion. I started in fusion in graduate school, and so I've been working on it for a very long time. And to now see the excitement around it, having industry bring that real focus on the market, it is an important part of the overall fusion ecosystem. And Bob talked a little bit about the ecosystem. We've got the public program that is investing in the science and technology aspect. There's work on domestic and international experiments. We have the ITER project under construction in France. We've got the universities that are part of this ecosystem, and bringing in industry with this major role is really a piece that was missing. And when you look at the challenges that we have to realize commercial fusion, and there are still challenges, it's going to take this diverse set of entities, of people, to actually make it work. And so this is just, it's an exciting step to see.
I'm hearing a lot of statements that end with, this is so exciting. I think that reflects the moment very well. Carlos, let me take it away.
Thank you. So it's definitely a big day for us all, and I'm really happy to be able to talk to you all. Thank you for inviting me. So I think it's great that this is happening. It's super exciting. It's important, I think, to draw a contrast with the NASA program that was mentioned earlier. So people like me and the national laboratories, we weren't really a big player in the NASA end of things. So this one is a little bit different, and I think it's important to recognize that. I think it's because we have less of a blueprint of exactly where we need to go. We're going in a new direction. So I'm really thrilled to be able to be a part of the program on behalf of educators like myself and others in the university, because we have a lot of scientific challenges and we're going to work towards them together. So this leverages our strength at the university to be able to innovate quickly, to be able to train students, to help the companies, basically staff the companies, because I know all these different companies have big ambitions. They all need human resource to reach their goals. And so by working together, I'm basically able to provide for my students an opportunity to work more closely with the companies, which is really exciting for them. And so I'm really happy to see that happen. I'd also like to say, as an expert in the field, I'm happy to be able to apply rigorous scientific tools to what these companies are saying. So we don't have situations where somebody's basically just making things up, we can actually apply high performance computing, we can apply state-of-the-art tools to really show that there's a strong scientific basis for what these companies are promising to do. And that's something we can provide in the academic sector at arm's length to basically validate the claims that these companies are doing. So I think that helps everybody. It shows that we're on a firmer footing, we're not making things up, and that's, I think, a strong contribution of the academics also.
Indeed, I think the way that this program is able to bring the industry partners with academics and the training aspects of it and thinking about even community is such an important part of this effort. And I especially, what resonates with me is what you said about training the next generation of scientists and leaders that are going to take this further. And doing so in partnership with the folks that are pushing the envelope, if you will, not just on the science, but also getting this out as soon as possible part is such an important contribution. Let me ask Jean to step in now.
I am just from my DEI experience and having spent a part of my career in the energy industry, I am so delighted and so excited to see this fusion program because it's going to disrupt the historical standards of how communities access low energy. Fusion, it represents an opportunity to be a great equalizer by reducing how much a household spends on energy monthly and increasing the available finances for individuals and families to spend on education, health, healthcare, general needs. But one of the things I really, I'm just excited about this is, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, is on the community benefits plan, and ensuring that we're going to be having the people who are impacted the most with this. They're going to be able to work with these companies here to make sure that nobody is left out and everybody who is impacted is included. So I'm just really excited.
Perfectly put. Exactly. I think thinking about these questions and the community involvement and benefit early on helps us avoid, kind of any potential issues beforehand and work together to achieve the common goal. And Phil brings a slightly different perspective that I think we're all very excited to hear. So you're on next.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Burhe. At Breakthrough Energy Ventures, we're looking for those really important technology leaps that can have a meaningful impact on the well-being and sustainability for all of humanity. Commercial fusion power would be one of the greatest such breakthroughs. It really is the ultimate energy source. And that's been the driver for us to be investors in 4 great fusion companies so far. We applaud the efforts of the US Department of Energy and the many decades of work it's done in promoting the science. And now with this amazing Milestone program that we think will go a long way towards getting commercial fusion reactors on the grid in the US in a greatly accelerated manner. This effort, emulating the success that NASA had promoting private commercial efforts for spaceflight, is a great means for sharing of risk and reward between the public and private sectors for the benefit of everyone. So in our view, there's really 2 really catalyzing elements of the program. First, as I said, it's a very good risk sharing in terms of spending money between the government and private companies. Both have to mutually agree on the proper milestones for getting to a commercial power plant. Then the companies and private investors are the ones who have to put up the capital and take the risk to hit those milestones. If they don't hit the milestones, then the government doesn't have to pay and can allocate those dollars to other projects that are having more success. So we think that this is being good stewards of the taxpayers' money, as well as really betting on those fusion concepts that have the best chance of working. And second, it's by no means a perfect analogy, but there's some similarities. What we've seen in biotech is that FDA clinical trials have been a helpful indicator to different sources of capital as to how much progress different companies and approaches are making. So this milestone program, again, there's a lot of differences, but it could be a similar sort of signal that could help catalyze more capital to come into the space that otherwise could have, had difficulty evaluating the journey towards commercialization. So I think that this is a great day for not only more government funding going into fusion, but also opening the doors for a lot more private investment to come into fusion as well. And then this, along with the NRC ruling, there's really great tailwinds for fusion right now, and we're super excited. So let me just say again, I think I'm the fifth or sixth person to say it, but this is such an exciting day. So a big congratulations to all the award recipients and the team at DOE for their many years of work for putting this together.
Indeed, very exciting day. We all send our congratulations to the selected teams, and really thrilled to see what comes next. And to switch gears a little bit, well, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is something that I'm very excited about. I'm really proud of this program, in particular in our broad push for fusion energy, how energy justice is playing a central role. I believe community involvement and being clear about the benefits to community are very important for any such project. And in this particular case, the community benefit plans were a key requirement for applications and a key metric for evaluation for the proposals. With that in mind, can each of you share with the audience what those plans look like and what success looks like from each of your perspectives in this particular area? And to start the conversation on this topic, let me first ask Jean to speak, and then we'll hear from everybody else too. Take it away, Jean.
Thank you. So I want to just elaborate, also talk a little bit about what Phil just talked about, is some of the milestones. And again, this program, the big thing is that no communities are left out or left behind. That the historical exclusions or setbacks are accounted for, and that true energy justice is achieved. So, historically, just very quickly, infrastructure, from my experience working in the energy industry, I saw this over and over again, is that historically infrastructure has been built in disadvantaged companies. And often there's zero to no investment done in the community. They're left with high energy bills, no community benefits, and high pollution. So one of the articles that I read here for the Department of Energy Secretary is there was a quote that really caught my attention. Systematic problems need systematic solutions. And what this program is going to do is going to create accountability. So there are clear expectations on what needs to be achieved throughout the program. So what does a community benefits plans look like? It looks like those people impacted become part of the decision. They're embedded in the development and execution of this program. I'm talking about, working with the local officials, working with the communities, working with the HOAs, working with the schools to make sure that, the jobs are staying behind, that we're working with schools to develop the pipeline that is going to be needed for the fusion program, for the future. So there's going to be a lot of alignment and a lot of collaboration that will take place by each one of the awardees to make sure that the community receives a great investment and they're not left behind. So one of the also another thing too is, how do you measure this? Because there's some tangible milestones as part of this program. What's going to be? How many schools are we going to build a pipeline? How many universities are we working with to make sure that we are ensuring that we're preparing those students to pursue some of those STEM opportunities, disciplines. So again, I'm really excited, and I think this community building this plan, the benefits plan, is such a great thing for this initiative.
Thank you for that. Let me go to Carlos next.
Thank you. So when I look at this, I think one of the most important things to recognize, that we all need to recognize, is that the technology is not enough. Even if we had the most magical power source, a community has to actually want this near their house, near their school, that their children can play close to this thing. So we have to, from the very beginning, be focused not only on the technology side, but the customer in terms of the society and the human beings that are going to be living and experiencing these things close to their homes. So I'm going to leave it to the companies to discuss their specific plans, but please remember the end goal is humans benefiting from the technology next to their homes. Another question is, what does success look like? I think success, broadly speaking, looks like jobs in the clean energy sector, not just jobs for physicists and engineers, but tradespeople, technicians, welders, people who are even security around the facilities. All these different sectors of society need to benefit. And as was said, those benefits should be going in large part to the local communities that are hosting these facilities. So I would really like to see focus beyond the technology also on the societies that are going to host these things, and also a path towards getting jobs and seeing that manifest in the education sector, which should be really fun.
Thank you for that, Carlos. Let me go to Phil next so that we get the broader perspective first before we get the representative from the two companies to tell us about specific plans. Go for it, Phil.
Thanks, Dr. Berhe, and appreciate the comments that have been made so far. Zooming out, we see, commercial, widely available fusion power may eventually be one of the best tools that we could deploy to try to bring energy accessibility and justice to everyone in the world. So there's a very exciting story here eventually, but the promise of the technology to the wider world should also be represented by the nearer term community benefits plans of the companies, as well as in the hiring and diversity practices of the companies themselves. I mean, you have to start from the beginning with the type of organization that will then have the values and culture to bring good things to the rest of the world. So we're really proud that our companies have included very strong plans, kind of at the guidance of the DOE in this regard, and also that they're working with great experts such as Jean and TIVC on this panel. So thank you a lot for her efforts as well.
Wonderful. Kathy.
The one thing that I want to add, and I completely agree with what has already been said, I want to talk just a little bit about the importance of these diverse communities, and it's absolutely about, yes, the communities where the particular energy source is going to be sited, and it's also getting their help in the development. And I say that because all of us look at a problem in a slightly different way. My background means I'm going to look at things a little bit differently than, for example, Bob's background or Susanna's background. And the problems that we need to solve are quite challenging and are going to take all of those different backgrounds. And I like to use as an example, one of the most difficult presentations I ever gave was to my son's elementary school, because they asked very fundamental questions that made me think of things in a different way. And I think that's a key part of what diversity brings to the table in all of this, and is extremely important.
I hear you. Kids always ask the most important questions. They get right to it, right? Thank you, Kathy. Susanna.
Thank you. So this is a topic that is very dear to me due to my career. I participated in public engagement activities since the early siting discussions for ITER in France. So I fully realize the importance of this, and Exima really believes also that is core to ensuring the success of commercial fusion energy. The items related to public acceptance and demonstrating equity and inclusivity to all the American people is key to the development of fusion power. So we have indeed prioritized milestones in our plan for the milestone program, and we have tried to create SMART goals. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals that refer to public engagement activities and, of course, to DIA activities. So to give you a few examples, we are quickly forming a community benefits advisory board that is periodically going to advise the leadership of the company, including the site selection for the pilot plant. This is very important. We are immediately hiring a DIA leader. This is one of our milestones for the immediate term. We actually are developing STEM training and outreach, and we really believe that it's we need to provide children and young members of communities in general, but mostly underserved and disadvantaged communities, we have to provide them with the opportunities to develop careers in STEM that will ultimately lead to a workforce in the fusion economy. And as an example, we are building our prototype laser facility in Colorado, and we are already engaging strongly with community groups over there and with universities and schools, which is really exciting to see. And finally, I think that optimizing a design of a pilot plant for safety and environmental potential, it's very important. And in our case, I also think that is personally one of my key goals and a key goal of the company to deliver a fusion concept with a chamber that doesn't require periodic replacement, so that it doesn't pose a burden to the communities of long streams of waste, even if it's low activation, because fusion, we always talk about low activated waste, but we want to minimize the waste streams that go into these communities. And also in terms of the safety characteristics, I think maximizing the safety and environmental features of our pilot plant and our commercial plants are key to the discussion with the public, and of course will be also be important for licensing.
Indeed. Well said. I don't need to add anything. I'll let us go jump to Bob. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is something that we've been passionate about from the beginning, the idea that the fusion must be for everyone, it must include everyone. It's in our name of Commonwealth. It's to the core. And this program and these milestones that are part of it, for us, it really helps us continue to build what we've done already here in Devens, Massachusetts, where we have a significant site that really came about through dialogue about what is important to communities, and only going to a community that wants us, and going there early and having lots of conversations before any decisions get made, decisions about whether to build or what to build, or even what's inside the machine. And this program, these milestones allow us to expand that in the site we already are in. So to have a reach that's not just to our nearest neighbors, but to the neighbors that are further away, to the trades, to the places that are training people that are operators of our machine, and to the local stakeholders, the environmentalists. We're up next to a river that's been cleaned up. It's like, okay, well, what can we learn from that? And then to take those lessons learned and not just make them for this site, but to make them for all the fusion sites. How can we turn those into things that we can learn across the whole fusion community? And eventually, when it comes time to build the first generation of fusion power plants, to build on that history of dialogue, to go to places that have had pollution from previous energy generation technologies, and say, this time we have a chance to do it differently. And I think that's one of the really exciting things that you see in fusion is we're building an industry, from scratch. Yes, we have lots of science that we've done. We're taking that with us. But in terms of the total impact that we're going to have on the world, we're at the very beginning. And so the trajectory we set, of who's in the room, who has a stake, and who's going to benefit, that trajectory is going to have a huge magnification as this technology becomes successful. And it's very exciting to be a part of that, and also to actually write it down and say, hold us accountable. This is what we're going to go do.
Indeed. As you all highlighted, incredibly important to make sure that we're bringing the diverse voices and skills and talents to bear to address these very challenging scientific issues, and make sure that we're coming up with the most innovative solutions that benefit all of society. This topic of inclusion is something we feel very strongly about in the Office of Science and broadly speaking in DOE, because we want to make sure that as we're putting out resources, public resources to help with technical challenges and science, we want to make sure that all the public is able to benefit from the resources, and all the society can be part of seeking the solutions to these challenges, but also benefiting from them in a way that benefits us all, a way that moves us forward in a very positive path. And so we have an opportunity here to do it right. And I'm really excited to hear that it's not just us from DOE saying this, but all of you with us that agree in the importance of inclusion on this area. And with the last few minutes that we all have left here, I want to ask each of you if you could share what you think will be the most exciting thing to happen in the field of fusion over the next few years, what you're most excited about, passionate about. And for that, let me start maybe with Phil, and we'll go with the others.
Thanks, Dr. Berhe. We've all talked about how exciting this announcement is, but I kind of think we ain't seen nothing yet. There are going to be so many exciting things coming in fusion in the future. And of course, lots of hard, exciting, challenging work to do. And that's why a program like this is so important. In terms of what's to come, we've already seen energy break even with lasers. We expect to see break even from other concepts in the coming years. Then there will be progress on all the support systems and reliability we need to get to working power plants. Then we're going to see the first fusion electrons on the grid. And then, and what I think is most exciting, because I think we're all doing this because we see the promise of fusion, is that we'll start to see fusion make a real dent in all the possibilities for the well-being and sustainability of our planet. So an exciting day, but I think a lot more exciting days to come.
Indeed. Kathy.
So I thought first about a whole list of technical accomplishments, and I could name a lot of them. But I decided that the really exciting thing will be when we've got our young people overwhelming the universities with applications for the fusion program, because that's a real indicator of interest in fusion. And that is the generation that truly will carry us forward and bring the innovation that can accelerate us towards commercial energy.
Very important. Yeah, Carlos.
That's starting to happen, by the way, already. Okay, so I'll pick a slightly more technical one. I'm really thrilled to be able to one day to look at one of these prototypes and stare it in the eye and look at this big shiny piece of engineering marvel and watch it, not super up close, but see when it turns on and starts to produce net energy. I think that's going to be amazing. I really look forward to seeing that happen in the coming years.
Indeed. Susanna.
For us, I think in the near term, I look forward to growing our company. We have some job openings already posted in our website, and we are going to require a lot of great people to join us. So for those that are watching this panel, please, if you are interested in a career in fusion, check out the website and see if there is a job description that would be a good match. In the longer, medium term, the next couple of years, we're going to focus on developing a prototype of the laser for the excimer concept. And after this demonstration, we're gonna proceed with high gain fusion experiments, like the experiment that happened at NIF, but with actual commercial break even. That means the wall plug break even. And this will be, I think, really game-changing milestone in our milestone program. After that, we are going to integrate different conceptual preliminary final designs into a self-consistent pilot plant design that leverages from this laser together with a very robust target design and a chamber that, as I said, is ideally designed to maximize the safety and environmental characteristics of fusion. And we plan to come up with the final design of the pilot plant and early construction activities in the early 2030s. So couldn't be more excited about what is to come.
Wonderful. Bob?
I think this program is about building things. So this is ultimately a fusion system, something you go and you build a machine that happens to make energy without consuming a lot of resources. That's super exciting. But if you think about what happens in the next few years, and we have billions of dollars in the private sector, this is the beginning of a program in the DOE, and that's being turned into things that are being manufactured and assembled. Those machines will come together in the next few years. The machine we're building here in Massachusetts, it's already, the buildings are almost done, and the machinery is starting to come off our manufacturing line and arrive from various fabrication shops in the United States and around the world that actually watch that come together and push a button and turn on and create conditions that we don't create on Earth normally, but that are the conditions that are the way that the energy is generated in the universe is super exciting. And that investment up front of people, time, engineering, that then leads to that big result at the end. Oftentimes we can just talk about the result, but that those steps along the way, we're going to see those at these companies, and we're going to not just see them, theoretically. We're going to see them in hardware. We're going to see them in data, and we're going to see them that data going to our public partners who are going to be checking the data and making sure that, yeah, we're on the right track, and these investments are likely to continue to pay off so that we can make more of those moments like NIF had last year. And those are only a few years away in many cases, which is just, unbelievable from where we were 10 years ago in this program.
Indeed. Thank you for that. Jean, let me allow you to give us the last word on this.
Thank you. I am really, really looking forward to, taking the community benefits plans, taking that and executing. And I very much look forward to just to like the smiles in the face of those stakeholders and the feeling that they're going to have that you care about me so much that you want my input. That's number one. The other one is I want to see this fusion technology. I want kids in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. I have a 13-year-old. I want him to hear that so he can be interested on pursuing that path. So thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. That was wonderful. I'm sure we could have carried on talking for a long time. Thank you to all the panelists for sharing your perspectives with us. And I really, really appreciate everybody's hard work on this, including the team from the Office of Science. Even though we had some technical challenge, everyone made the best of it. And as we heard earlier, this is fusion after all. Everything about it is hard, including live stream, I guess. So what do you do? This is how it works these days. But I really want to thank you, everybody, for joining us today and taking time to share on this important event. Thank you also to everybody who's been eagerly waiting to hear about the launch of this very exciting program. As the Congress emphasized in our historic authorization in the CHIPS and Science Act of 2022, the Milestone program is critical. But it's also made clear that this is just one in the portfolio of important programs that we steward out of the Office of Science that will continue to advance the state of fusion energy sciences. We invest in a lot of things, from the fundamental investigations of plasma science to the more technologically focused efforts to develop fusion energy and other applications of plasma technologies. We are the leader in the government for delivering on the promise of plasma and fusion science and technology. And it is thanks to many, many decades of discoveries, large and small, the works of countless students, postdocs, faculty, national lab scientists and leaders, and private sector innovators that have gotten us to where we are today. The use-inspired fundamental science behind the work we're supporting with the Milestone program are the hallmark of the Office of Science. Sustained support by the Office of Science over the last several decades for foundational research in fusion, plasma science, and technology at our national laboratories, universities, and private industry has been instrumental in raising the level of maturity of the field and developing a well-trained workforce. And continuing this support will be essential for closing the remaining gaps in critical science and technology areas and accelerating the development of commercial fusion energy by a diverse and vibrant workforce. And I can't wait to see how this new Milestone program will add to our long history of innovation. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.